Okay, so for number 1, they're asking you for the slope passing through, the slope of the line passing through these 2 points. So you could either use a formula, which is right here, or just find the difference in the y's, which is, that's basically what it is here, and then over the difference in the x's, which is over here. So I've set it up, and so now we're just going to simplify. So negative 3 plus 6 is 3, and 8 minus 9, negative 1. The answer is negative 3. Okay, so they want the equation in slope-intercept form. It has a slope of negative 2 and a point, it goes through the point negative 4, 6. You have 2 options. You can either, since you know that this is x and this is y, you can replace the mxy in the equation and solve for b. That's one way, so I'll show you that one. 6 equals negative 2 times negative 4 plus b. This gives you 8, so we do minus 8 on both sides. So negative 2 is b. So the equation would be y equals negative 2x minus 2. Okay? Or you can start from point slope form since you have point slope, a point and a slope. So you could say y minus 6 equals negative 2 times x plus 4. And then solve for y. So you would distribute right here. And so you get y minus 6 equals negative 2x minus 8. You add 6, y equals negative 2x minus 2. Same answer as it should be. And that's it for this one. Alright, so now they give you a point and an equation of a line, this one right here, and they want you to find the equation of the line perpendicular to this line right here. So we need to find the slope of the line first, and for that we solve for y. So negative 10y, subtract 9x from both sides, gives you negative 9x, divide by negative 10, so y equals 9/10 x minus 1. So the slope of this line is 9/10, so the perpendicular slope is going to be opposite and reciprocal. Okay, so you have a point right here, and now you have the slope. Just like in problem number 2, you can either go straight to solve for b, or write it as a point slope and then solve for y. I'll do the first method. So negative 4 equals negative 10 over 9 times negative 9 plus b. So negative 4 equals, the 9's reduced to 1, so you get positive 10 plus b. We're going to subtract 10 from both sides. Negative 14 equals b. And so your equation is going to be y equals negative 10 over 9x, because that's the slope that we have right here, minus 14. Alright, so for number 4 now, they want a line parallel to this given line going through that point. So again, we need to find the slope of this line. So we're solving for y. Negative 2y equals, subtract 4x from both sides, so that gives you negative 4x on this side, on the right side. Divide by negative 2, so y equals 2x plus 15. So the slope here is 2. And remember, parallel slopes are equal, so it's going to be 2. So I'm going to use y as negative 2 equals positive 2 times negative 4 plus b. This gives you negative 8, so that means I'm going to add 8 so that this is gone. So 6 equals b. So y equals 2x plus 6. For number 5, we do have a function, because remember, when you have a table of values, if the x's do not repeat, then it is a function. Okay, so if you look at the x's, none of them repeat. So we have a function. Number 6, remember I told you in class, is a typo, so it has a typo, that should be A. And the only thing you have to be careful is that the denominator is not equal to 0. And so we would say for the domain all I should say A. Oops, I copied it wrong. Sorry, this should be a 3, right? So 3 over A. So all, talking about A, all A such that A cannot be 0. That would be your domain. Alright, so they're asking you for domain. This one has two things to be careful about. The denominator has an x, and then we also have an x inside a square root function. So we've got to be careful with that. In the denominator, remember we cannot have a 0. So I have to say x cannot be negative 6. Why? Because that would make the denominator a 0. In the numerator, this part right here has to be greater than or equal to 0. So x plus 6 has to be greater than or equal to 0. So x has to be greater than or equal to negative 6. Okay, but remember these two, this part and this part go together. They're part of the same function. So then I can't say equal to negative 6 because this part says I can't use negative 6. So my domain would be from 6 to infinity, parentheses and parentheses, not a bracket. Okay, because yes, a 0 is okay in the numerator, but not in the denominator. Okay, so this would be the final answer. Okay, so we're evaluating the function f of y for f of r plus 5. So what that means is that we're going to take f of y, and wherever you see a y, you're going to replace that with r plus 5. So this would be 4r plus 5 minus 5. So this is 4r plus 20 minus 5. This becomes 15. So then it equals 4r plus 15. Alright, so for number 9, you're evaluating a piecewise function. So f of negative 3 for part A, you're looking at the domain and asking yourself whether negative 3 is in here or here. And it's actually here, right? Because negative 3 is less than negative 1. So that means you're going to evaluate negative 3 in this part only. So you're going to say 2 times negative 3 minus 4, that's negative 6 minus 4, negative 10. Then f of 3. Well, f of 3 would go here, because right here, because 3 is greater than, right, negative 1. So I would evaluate it in this piece. So I have negative 3, because remember, every function has only one answer for every x. Cannot have more than one. So 5 minus 3 is 2. And then f of negative 1, well, there's two negative ones, right? I see here and here. But this one's not equal to. This one is. So this is the one we're going to use. So it's 2x minus 4. So 2. So negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. Okay, so 10 is similar to number 9. We have f of 7. So we're looking for, where would 7 fit? Here, here, or here. And it would actually fit right here because 7 is greater than 6, right? So then this is the value of y when x is 7. So it's just going to be 5. Then the next one, f of 0. Well, 0 would go here, right? Negative 3, between negative 3 and 6. So that means we're going to use the middle piece of the function, 2x minus 1. So 2 times 0 minus 1 is negative 1. Then negative 3. Well, I see there's a negative 3 here and a negative 3 right here. So the piece that says equal to is this one, right? So that means that I'm going to use this piece of the function, 2x minus 1. So it's going to be 2 times negative 3 minus 1. So negative 6 minus 1 is negative 7. And then f of 1, we have 1 would be also here, right? Because 1 is between negative 3 and 6. So again, we're going to use this piece. So 2 times 1 minus 1. The answer is 1. Okay, so even, odd, or neither. Well, look at the exponent. The exponent here is 4. And then for 5, the exponent is actually x to the 0, so it's 0. Because remember, x to the 0 is 1. So 1 times 5 is 5. So anytime you have a constant, just remember that that's the, it has an x to the 0 after it. So since both of these are even numbers, this has even, this is an even function. So the average rate of change is another way of saying slope from the interval where x is negative 4 to the interval where x is 2. So first off, we have to find f of negative 4 and f of 2. Okay, the y values. So the y value when x is negative 4 and the y value when x is 2. Let me do the one with 2, it's smaller. So 2 squared is 4, 4 plus 1 is 5, 5 minus 16 would be negative 11. For negative 4, it'd be negative 4 squared is 16, and then negative 8 minus 4 is plus 32 plus 1. That gives you 49. Okay, so just like with the slope formula, remember y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. The average rate of change is the same, except you write it in terms of f of x. So f of x2 minus f of x1, because remember those are your y's, over x2 minus x1. Okay? So negative 11 minus 49 over 2 minus negative 4. So we get negative 60 over 6, which gives us negative 10. Alright, so we're finding the zeros. That means that f of x is 0, and then we're solving for x. A couple of ways of approaching this. Notice this is difference of two squares, so you can factor. So that means that x equals negative 2/3 or positive 2/3. You could also solve, isolate the x squared, right? So that would be, let me put it over here. Add 4. So 4 equals 9x squared, divide by 9. So 4/9 equals x squared. Take the square root of both sides. And remember, when you do that, you have to put plus or minus 2/3. This is where a lot of students forget to add the plus minus right here. So I would rather you do it this way, because this way you don't forget about the plus minus, because it's very obvious. Okay? Alright, so we're finding an inverse. So first thing, we convert f of x to y. Then we switch the x and the y. And then we solve for x. So this is cube root on the right side, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise both sides to the third power, like this. Okay, so on the left side it's x cubed, on the right side I get 3y minus 2. So then I add 2 to both sides, and then I divide by 3. So now I have y by itself. Once you do that, convert the notation back to function notation, so f inverse of x equals x cubed plus 2 all over 3. Alright, so as it stands, f of x equals x squared minus 2. This function is not one-to-one, so it has no inverse function. Okay, no inverse function. If you restrict the domain, then you could have an inverse function. But as it is, and see, the problem itself doesn't have a restriction. So as it is, your correct answer would be no inverse